Have you ever wondered what it took for women to win the right to vote and transform society during the Progressive Era? It wasn't just one big movement. It was thousands of courageous women, leading change step by step. In today's video, we're diving into the inspiring stories of women reformers in the early 20th century. These women didn't just fight for their own rights. They tackled issues like child labor, human trafficking, and alcohol abuse. Their actions shaped the future of our society in ways that are still felt today. We'll explore the key leaders, their movements, and the monumental challenges they overcame. By the end, you'll have a deep understanding of how women reshaped the Progressive Era and why their legacy matters. Let's set the stage. Imagine a time when women couldn't vote, hold office, or work in most professions. Their roles were limited, their voices largely unheard. But rather than accept this, many women turned their focus outward. They became the driving force behind reforms that addressed societal issues like child labor, poor housing, and education. These women weren't just helping others, they were laying the groundwork for their own fight for equality. The Progressive Era gave rise to a new wave of activism, where women began to demand the full rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Now let's travel to Chicago, where Jane Addams founded Hull House. This wasn't just a community center, it was a lifeline for struggling immigrants. Hull House offered everything from childcare to job training, helping families build a better future. Addams also fought for workers' rights, established the first juvenile court, and even co-founded the ACLU. Then there was Florence Kelley, another powerhouse reformer at Hull House. She investigated sweatshops and exposed the horrific conditions faced by workers and children. Her reports helped pass child labor laws in Illinois and established protections for women in the workplace. Later, as the leader of the National Consumers League, she championed minimum wage laws and fair working conditions. Julia Lathrop also stands out. She inspected poorhouses, advocating for humane treatment of the mentally ill. Her work led to the creation of the Children's Bureau, the first federal agency dedicated to improving the lives of children and families. These women proved that change starts at the local level, but can ripple out to shape national policies. While the Midwest tackled labor and social welfare, women on the West Coast were fighting an entirely different battle. In San Francisco, Margaret Culbertson and Donaldina Cameron confronted the horrors of human trafficking. Chinese women and girls, brought into the U.S. by criminal tongs, were forced into slavery and prostitution. Donaldina Cameron, nicknamed Beloved Mother, rescued over 3,000 women and girls during her 40-year career. She broke down doors, climbed rooftops, and faced life-threatening risks to free these individuals. Her courage shined a spotlight on the darker side of immigration laws, like the Chinese Exclusion Act, which had separated families and created conditions for exploitation. Now we turn to one of the biggest fights of the Progressive Era, the suffrage movement. Organizations like NASA, led by icons like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Carrie Chapman Catt, pushed for a constitutional amendment to grant women the right to vote. But it wasn't easy. Southern Democrats resisted, fearing that African American women would also gain the right to vote. Liquor manufacturers opposed suffrage, worried voters would strengthen prohibition efforts. While NASA lobbied and gathered petitions, Alice Paul and the National Woman's Party took a more radical approach. They organized marches, picketed the White House, and even went on hunger strikes. The suffrage movement was a tug-of-war between cautious lobbying and bold civil disobedience, but ultimately, it succeeded in bringing about the 19th Amendment. Alcohol was another pressing issue, and women played a leading role in the temperance movement. Reformers argued that excessive drinking didn't just harm men, it devastated families. Money was wasted on alcohol, and abuse often followed. One of the most unforgettable figures was Carrie Nation. Armed with a hatchet, she smashed saloons, determined to stop the sale of alcohol. Her dramatic protests symbolized the desperation of women trying to protect their homes. Organizations like the Anti-Saloon League worked alongside her, eventually achieving the 18th Amendment, which banned alcohol nationwide. So what can we learn from these stories? Women didn't just fight for their own rights, They took on societal problems and redefined what it meant to be a citizen. Their efforts in labor reform, suffrage, and prohibition weren't just victories for their time, they were steps toward building a more inclusive democracy. Here's a question for you. Which of these movements do you think had the most lasting impact, and why? Let us know in the comments. If you got a lot of value out of this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and the bell so you won't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.